North Carolina law and UNC system policy prohibit the willful interruption, disturbance, or disruption of an official public meeting. Further, North Carolina law provides that it is a Class 2 misdemeanor for any person to refuse to leave an official meeting upon being directed to do so. Pursuant to these authorities, anyone who interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts this meeting will be asked to leave. If they do not leave when asked, they will be removed and may be subject to arrest. I'll now ask Secretary Ramsey White to please call the roll for today's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Valentine.
Here.
Mr. Blaine. Mr. Bullock.
Here.
Mr. Bronner.
Here.
Mr. Bronner. Mr. Bryan. My lady friend.
Here.
Dr. Jones. Mr.
Here.
Mr. Kotis. Ms. Lloyd.
Here.
Mr. Meekins.
Here.
Mr. Patel.
Here.
Chair Pryor.
Here.
Ms. Taylor.
Here.
Mr. Turner.
Here.
And I am present. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Secretary White. And just for everyone's knowledge, that is Trustee Jones and Trustee Kotis, I believe, are joining us via Zoom today for this meeting. As chair of the board, I must remind all members of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict of interest. If you know of any conflict or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board today, please identify it at this time. Hearing none, we will move to the approval of the consent agenda. We have a number of items on the consent agenda for approval at this meeting. I will read the list now, which include approval of open and closed session minutes of the May 15th, 16th, 2024 meeting, approval of the May 13th, 2024 special meeting minutes, approval of the July 15th, 2024 special meeting minutes, approval of the August 5th, 2024 special meeting minutes, approval of the May 2025 revised meeting minutes. Let's see here. That would be May 2024. Okay. Revised meeting dates. Correction here. That was approval of the May 2025 revised meeting dates, May 21st, 22nd, 2025. Ratification of the mail ballots from the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee. Advanced Planning Spending Authority, fiscal year 2025-27 parking repairs, fiscal year 2025-27 parking deck, elevator modernization, Keenan Labs renovation, Neurosciences Research Building first floor upgrades, Moorhead Planetarium and Science Center front entry plaza and outdoor event pavilion, designer selection for the Gene Therapy Center renovation, design build selection for the Columbia Street steam tunnel replacement, design approval for the Caldwell Hall accessibility improvements, self-liquidating debt, and from the University Affairs Committee, requests for discontinuation of partnership in Aging PIAP Center, which we heard about from Provost Clemens yesterday, approval of the revised faculty salary ranges for the Gilling School of Public Health and the Keenan Flagler Business School. Having read the materials listed under the consent agenda, is there any item that needs to be moved to the discussion portion of either the open or closed session? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve all of these items. Thank you, Secretary White. Can I get a second? Thank you, Trustee Turner. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. The motion is approved. Now I'm going to move to a few quick remarks that I'm going to make. And we've got a couple of special guests here that I'm going to recognize. I'd like to welcome all of you here today to the #1 public university in the world. We've got a special guest with us here today I'd like to recognize. Randy Ramsey, the recent chair of the UNC System Board of Governors. And there he is right there on the front row. Thank you very much for joining us here today, Randy, Governor Ramsey. And as some of you might know, Randy's favorite shade of blue is actually red. But he's a Tar Heel today, and we're happy to have him here with us. We all had dinner last night, and for good measure, we got him some official Carolina gear, which he eyed with great suspicion. And I think that may end up as a special prize at the upcoming Big Rock tournament. And a very special thanks to our friend Trustee Kalapa for his impromptu remarks last night at dinner about coming to this country as an immigrant and how much he loves not just this country, but this state in particular. The same for Trustee Patel, who shared his experience and similar love of our country in this state. As a native North Carolinian, it made us all appreciate how much more lucky we are to have grown up in this place that two well-traveled friends think is the best in the world. Now, I'd like to recognize a group of very special guests, the academic advisors for the Carolina football program. Most of you know the football team is off to a great start this season, but what is less well known is that our academic progress report for football was #1 in the ACC, the best in the conference, and maybe more impressive, #3 nationally. Now, just a reminder, the football team has the largest roster of any sports team at Carolina, 85 players in total who go to practice every day, attend their team meetings specific to their positions, get any needed physical therapy, and most importantly, go to class and take care of their academic responsibilities. Under head coach Mac Brown, the academic progress report for football over the past 4 years has had the highest average it's ever had in the past 20 years. That's quite an accomplishment and one that I don't think has gotten enough attention. So I'd now like to recognize the stellar academic team that has made this happen. And we've got them here in the back. We've got Dr. Michelle Brown and Les Myers and their team. And I would like Les, you to come up and just say a couple of words and tell us how your team does this.
Thank you very much for we're standing here representing the members of our last 5 football games. This is a historical number that they put up that we're only average of 5 years. So, or excuse me, 4 years. Just to be completely plain and frank with you, the young men that do what they do, compete on the field at the ACC level, to compete for championships, and to still go and do what they do in the classroom is amazing. The time and effort that they have to be putting to be successful on the field, the time and effort, blood, sweat, and tears that they do to be successful in the classroom is amazing. We have a tremendous team. Dr. Michelle Brown, our assistant provost and director of the academic support program for student athletes, Kathy Zambrana, Alyssa Matthews, Greg Beatty, our learning support team, Colette Toney, Sadie Gladden, Kirby Ivory, Kathleen Crosby, Leslie Brown. They do a lot of hands-on work with our student athletes, and obviously Coach Brown and his staff identifying student athletes that can be successful at Carolina to compete at the ACC level on the field, and also to put the third APR on the record book as well. So it'd be hard to fit 85 scholarship members. We have about 120 on the team total, but the scholarship members of our team for 5 different years into this classroom. So really, we appreciate the opportunity to just come and tell you that this is completely all about those young men and what they've done in the classroom, and Coach Brown and his staff for what they're doing to ensure that the academic component of the student athlete equation truly means something, which it does at an amazing institution like Carolina.
Les, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Les how they did this? I think this is just a remarkable accomplishment. We sure do appreciate you all being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
We often forget that our student athletes are students first, and we tend to associate their success with the final scores of the games they play. But after hearing this today, I firmly believe that when it comes to the football team, our student athletes have already won before they even step on the field. Now, I'd like to thank someone who is not here with us today because she is busy running the medical school. But we all owe Dr. Christy Page a big thank you for chairing the search committee for our new chancellor. It was a time-consuming chore for her, and she did it with upbeat and contagious enthusiasm. I'd also like to recognize my fellow trustees, Lloyd, Patel, and Turner, who all served with me on the search committee, along with our former student body president, Chris Everett. And I also want to recognize the contribution of system president Hans, who did an exceptional job during the interviews of guiding the discussions with a light hand and encouraging the participation of all the committee members. We had some really exceptional candidates in the final pool. And in case you don't know what happened, the winner is sitting right here to my right. I think Carolina is once again showing why it is the #1 public university in the world with the selection of Lee Roberts as its chancellor. He is the right leader for this university right now. Universities, especially this one, are a broad and exciting mix of teaching, research, fundraising, athletics, budgeting, crisis management. We all know about that. Politics, which is a reality, like it or not, and so much more. Carolina is a $4.5 billion enterprise, and we now have a successful private sector executive with public policy experience leading the university. What we need more of here, and what Lee Roberts can do so well, is operational efficiency and get us excellence across the board. I'm glad that Carolina picked a businessman, one with teaching experience, to run our university. I think it is a new model for all universities to replicate, and I am proud that Carolina is once again leading. Thank you and congratulations. I'll now call on the student body president, Taylor, for your remarks.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor and privilege to be a member of this board and serve in this capacity. I'm filled with a sense of responsibility and excitement for the work that we have accomplished and the challenges that lie ahead. Since we last met in May, it's not surprising that I've had quite the eventful term as student body president thus far. The past months have been a whirlwind of activity marked by significant changes, challenges, and opportunities for growth within our campus community. Since I started in April 2nd, our campus community has undergone a variety of changes, some anticipated and others unexpected. One of the most notable events occurred on April 30th when our campus experienced several student-led protests. These demonstrations brought to light the intricate connection between global issues and campus concerns, resulting in a period of campus unrest that required careful navigation and open dialogue. As we delved deeper into these motivations behind the protests, it became abundantly clear that there was an underlying theme uniting our student body, a desire for more information and transparency, particularly surrounding how the university endowments in our institution makes its investments. This call for greater transparency resonated strongly with me and my team, as we believe that an informed student body is an empowered one. In response to this pressing concern, members of student government and I have taken a decisive action by spearheading an initiative known as the Investment Advisory Committee. The committee represents a cross-section of our university community, bringing university administrators, undergraduate and graduate students, faculty, and employees together. Our primary objective is to discuss and learn about the intricate processes behind the university investment decisions. Our hope is to continue to expose students to processes that are not always easy to understand and ensure that every student is getting the correct and clear information. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to express my gratitude for those who have been instrumental in getting this initiative off the ground. I'd like to express my sincere thanks to President and CEO Jonathan King, Chancellor Roberts, Vice Chancellor Knuffman, and Christy Hurt. Their support and guidance have been invaluable in turning this idea into reality, and their commitment to transparency and student engagement is commendable. Moving on to another significant development, I must address the changes that have occurred on our student honor court system. This transition has been met with mixed reactions, and quite frankly, many students were disappointed with the change on our campus. It's important to note that UNC was one of only 2 institutions in the country with a student-led honor system, a point of pride for many in our community. In my numerous conversations with students across campus, a consistent theme has emerged. Students want to be heard and included through a system of shared governance. This desire for input and representation is not limited to the honor court system, but extends to various aspects of campus life and policymaking. The same theme of student involvement can be echoed through the recent removal of the diversity, equity, inclusion policy. Many students on campus felt like they did not have sufficient input on decisions that directly impact their daily lives at Carolina and across North Carolina. This change has sparked discussion and reflection within our community about the values we hold dear and how we can ensure that every voice is heard and represented. From a student government perspective, our department has focused on two key areas in response to these changes. First, we're committed to ensuring that students have access to the correct and comprehensive information about the changes. And then we also believe that we should be dedicated to ensuring that diverse voices are heard and present on campus. To achieve these goals, we've sponsored some surveys to gather student opinions and have spearheaded town halls so that students can learn, discuss, and voice their concerns in a supportive environment. In my personal capacity, I've continued to meet with senior administrators to ensure that diversity remains a top priority at Carolina. Another thing I'd like to address is that the election is coming up, and so student government, just as historically student government has done in the past, is doubling down on efforts to make sure that voting is accessible as possible for all students. We view civic engagement as a fundamental right and responsibility, and we're committed to breaking down any barriers that might prevent students from exercising their right to vote. One significant achievement in this area has been the approval of digital one cards by our North Carolina Board of Elections as valid voter identification. And this development represents a major step forward in making voting more convenient for our student body. Our efforts have not just been limited to working with voter IDs and making voting more accessible. We've also launched a series of engaging voter empowerment series, drawing inspirations from popular culture such as Legally Blonde and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. We wanted to make voting exciting, so we made a bunch of different skits. And so shifting gears onto another pressing issue, I want to discuss an initiative that was close to my heart since I launched my campaign for student body president. One of my key platform points was a critical issue facing many of our students while also creating a way for community to support one another. And this has to do with food insecurity. The student government has advocated for implementing a meal swipe donation plan. This program would allow students with excess meal swipes to donate them to fellow students in need, creating a direct and impactful way for our community to support its most vulnerable members. And so over the past several months, my office has been able to meet with the Dean of Students, Auxiliary Services, Carolina Dining Services, and most importantly, students themselves. And we're hopeful that this is an initiative that lots of students will get behind, and we're excited to continue to update the Board of Trustees and other stakeholders on our progress. As I reflect on these various initiatives and challenges, I'm struck with resilience, passion, and dedication to our student body, whether it's advocating for greater transparency in university investments, engaging in the democratic process, or supporting peers facing food insecurity. Our students continue to demonstrate the very best of what it means to be a Tar Heel. In conclusion, this term has been met with significant challenges, but also has been met with tremendous growth and opportunities for positive change. And we will work tirelessly to address student concerns, promote transparency, and foster a more inclusive campus environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Taylor. And we met last Friday and she discussed with me what I think is a really good idea about your meal plan and the swipes and how we might help some students that would benefit from having more swipes. I saw, before I call on the graduate and professional student governance representative here, let me just recognize our friend Trustee Kalapa. Thank you for, you didn't hear me earlier because I know you were a few minutes late, but let me just say, I want you to know how much all of us at dinner last night appreciated your remarks on coming to this country, how moving it was to hear that. And I referenced it, and you and Trustee Patel both, how meaningful that was to all of us, that you not only love this country, but you love this state so much in particular. Yeah. Thank you. I'll now recognize Katie Heath, the Graduate and Professional Student Government President, for her remarks.
to visit rural towns and introduce engineering to high school students. These schools often had class sizes of 15 students or less, and a lot of times didn't have access to the same resources that a lot of us did. I worked with these students to help them see that engineering, but also just attending college, was a viable option and path for them. I share this because this experience helped me recognize the impact that schools like UNC can have on students no matter where they come from. I'm now lucky to be working on my PhD in the Joint Biomedical Engineering program here at UNC. I've had the incredible journey being able to work with world-class researchers and with clinicians. My research focuses on developing tools for patients who've been diagnosed with head and neck cancer. I work with using image processing and AI to identify the best treatment plan for patients who are going through treatment. I share all of this with you so that I hopefully can serve as one example of one of the many, many backgrounds that students and graduate students come from, and the things that they are able to bring with them to Carolina. As you all know, graduate professional students represent more than a third of the student population at UNC. We are instructors and TAs for many of the classes. We really are the workforce behind the research that funds $1.2 billion in research awards in 2024. And we're training to be clinicians and professionals that inevitably will help support our mission across North Carolina and across the world. So as graduate and professional student president, my role is to share with you the accomplishments of my constituents, but as well to share the things that they're most concerned about. One of the first issues that was raised to me as president this past year was the lack of a graduate student representative on the Chancellor Search Advisory Committee. So at the time, I reached out to the chair of the committee, Christy Page, to try and find a way for graduate students to be able to share their voices with the board. We decided that the graduate student government would do a survey of students to provide the committee with a list of the priorities that graduate students had. We asked graduate and professional students what they thought were the most urgent topics that needed to be addressed by the administration and by a new chancellor. And so I wanted to share with you all the top 3 priorities that we identified in the survey and some actions that we're hoping to take to try to address those things. The first priority of students was the need to address stipends and cost of living. In response, the graduate and professional student government has begun hosting a series of financial wellness workshops with Dr. Gilbert Rogers, who's the new director of financial wellness at UNC. And in these workshops, we're addressing topics like budgeting on a stipend, managing having student debt, and also assisting students with applying for SNAP benefits. In addition to this programming, I also definitely have the goal of wanting to work with the administration towards achieving our goal of regular stipend increases for RAs and TAs so that students can focus on their world-class achievements and not just on making ends meet. I also want to continue pushing for expanding graduate housing at UNC as part of the university's master plan. The second priority from that survey is student rights and working conditions. It is really imperative that we recognize the rich history of shared governance that the university has. And I really want to make sure that we all continue to work together as much as we can to continue that tradition. This summer, a decision was announced to the campus community that the student honor court would be significantly changed. While this decision was not made with any student input, we urge that moving forward, student voices will be included in these types of conversations that directly affect students. To address concerns about graduate student working conditions, our Senate this past spring passed a Graduate and Professional Student Bill of Rights. This was a collaboration between many, many students and also came with input directly from the graduate school. A student-wide vote is going to be occurring this fall to approve the document, but we hope that this is going to set a standard for the culture at Carolina around research, teaching, and the graduate student experience. Many of these issues that we bring up in this document are actually being addressed by the Graduate Student Experience Initiative, which is a group that has been organized by the graduate school that is made up of over 100 administrators, faculty, staff, and students. This initiative is committed to improving the lives of graduate students at UNC and has already made a really awesome impact of having our first ever campus-wide TA teaching assistant training that was held this summer that was very, very well attended and very successful. Going back to the survey, the third priority I wanted to mention was mental health and well-being. I think we've all talked about that a lot. The same Graduate Student Experience Initiative is working extensively on this topic as well. The group has subcommittees that are working on potential solutions to address mental health, like considering potential embedded counselors for graduate students, as well as working on student mentor agreements. Promoting well-being through community building also continues to be a large priority for my student government. We are hosting events, for example, like our grad cafes and our upcoming wellness fair that help promote bringing graduate and professional students together. So with all of that stuff going on, I realized that was a lot. It really is my goal this year that we are able to work together and continuing to make Carolina such an amazing place that it is. I want to invite you all, if you'd like to join us at our monthly Graduate Professional Student Senate meetings. It's a great time to come and engage with students and hear what it is that they're thinking. And I also really want to thank the board for taking the time to listen specifically to graduate and professional student voices, because we are a big group, and it is really, it really makes me appreciative that y'all allow us to come here and share the things that we think are important. I also want to warmly congratulate Chancellor Roberts on your new position, and I'm very excited to celebrate on University Day that's coming up next month. So that's all I brought for today. Thank you all so much for your time, and I'm happy to take questions if there's any.
I have one.
Mhm.
I heard you say biomedical, and then what was that next word?
Engineering.
Thank you. Do any of your colleagues, your peers, go to work for the North Carolina Department of Transportation? No, I take that as a no.
In biomedical engineering, not usually.
My point is that there are not a lot of civil engineers that come out of the biomedical engineering program. And I am so happy that Governor Ramsey is here to hear that today. Anybody have a question for Katie?
That's exactly what I work on. Yes. So I actually take patient data from patients who've already gone through treatment, and I'm trying to use AI to basically signal to a physician as a patient's going through therapy, maybe their tumor has moved, or maybe they've lost a significant amount of weight, and try to determine this person, they need their radiation replanned. Mm-hmm.
Trustee Patel.
I may get your contact information. I just dropped off my son who's going into the biomedical engineering program in the Big Ten school. So we toured the programs here, but as you said, we've got one option and one option only. And hopefully down the road, more options open up here for us.
Hey, I'll give you my business card. We can talk about it more. That'd be great. Awesome.
Trustee Valentine.
What is the stipend?
The current minimum stipend for graduate professional students was raised 2 years ago to $20,000. And that is for RAs and TAs. Graduate assistantships are kind of separate.
And what is the proposal?
The proposal is, I think over the past few years, the thinking has been, we want to hit a certain mark, and we kind of do this cycle every 2 or 3 years. And I think now with the conversation is there a way that we can figure out what is a sustainable, continual increase that could happen every so many years? And I think that that's a proposal that I want to come up with together. I think that we can talk more about what's going to be reasonable, what's going to be manageable for, our departments. But I think that continuing to keep up with inflation and with the cost of living in Carolina, I think at Chapel Hill, I think that some level of increase over time is going to be necessary.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you all so much.
I will now recognize Chancellor Roberts for his remarks.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Thank you for the kind remarks. I appreciate it. And thank you to President Taylor and President Heath for your comments. We have not gathered for a meeting since I became permanent chancellor, and I want to start by sharing my appreciation to this board for all of the support and all of the collaboration. It's been wonderful to work with you over the past 9 months, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. I also want to extend my welcome as well to Chair Ramsey. Appreciate all of your support. Appreciate your being here today. And thank you to all of you who have so readily shared congratulations since the announcement. I truly could not be more honored to serve in this position. I welcomed 5,624 students just 5 weeks ago. I'm a freshman too, and I've enjoyed campus traditions like convocation, where Aaron Matson inspired our students to dream big. And I stood in line with our students for a sip at the old well on the first day of classes. You learn a lot about students' hopes and anxieties standing in that line. I've also been extremely grateful for the chance to meet and talk with so many of our faculty in one-on-one settings, small group lunches and dinners, and bigger meetings like the faculty council. And you all know the chancellor does a lot of events, but my single favorite event since starting in January happened just last week. It's the picture in the upper right here on this slide. Trustee Lloyd was there. It was the September 11th Memorial Stadium Walk, where we all gathered in Keenan Stadium at 6 a.m. to climb 2,071 stairs in honor of the victims of 9/11. You see in the photo there, the athletic director thought it would be a good idea to follow the swim team up the stairs. I wanted to follow the ROTC cadets who are carrying the 40-pound packs, but we got it done, and I was able to get downtown Raleigh in time for the BOG meeting at 9 a.m. that morning. So I invite everyone next September 11th at 6 a.m. to join us in Keenan Stadium for that event. Like many of you, I've attended every football game so far this year. Liza and I enjoyed being in Minnesota to kick off the season. Superb 3-0 start to the season. The field hockey team is undefeated. Encourage everyone to cheer them on tomorrow against Syracuse. Men's soccer is undefeated. Volleyball and women's soccer each just have one loss. So as always, encourage everyone to come out and cheer on the Tar Heels. Our student affairs team launched the new UNC Career Hub on Tuesday under the leadership of our inaugural Assistant Vice Chancellor for Career Development. The hub offers a centralized resource platform for our students' career needs. The new website had 1,000 views in the first 24 hours. Additionally, our Financial Wellbeing Center is making progress under our inaugural Director of Financial Wellbeing. The center's goal is to become the national leader for financial education and set the standard for how universities better meet the financial well-being needs of college students. Several students have been recruited to serve as ambassadors across campus to help spread basic financial wellness skills through a peer-to-peer model for financial education. Both initiatives are critical to ensuring that students have the tools they need to be successful. I want to thank in particular Trustee Jones, Trustee White, who served on the committee that made this happen. Just to mention a couple of other things that are on my mind as we think about the academic year to come. There's obviously a lot of things going on, as always, but when we think about things that are still going to be salient a year from now, 5 years from now, probably 10 years from now, I come back to the work of our working groups on generative AI, the physical master plan, applied sciences, and enrollment planning. As you all know, sometimes in the university context, working groups are created to prepare a report, and the work product is the report, and then the work is done. That's not true in this case. Here, the work is just beginning now that the working groups delivered their reports, and we can move forward to implementation. Implementation looks a little bit different for each one of these objectives, but they're each crucial to the future of the university, and we need to make progress on each one of them, and we have a solid implementation plan in place in each instance. Also spending significant time, as always, on the future of college athletics. And as Vice Chancellor Knuffman mentioned yesterday, we're beginning budget season once again. As some of you know, Vice Chancellor Knuffman and I work together in the State Budget Office, and we actually enjoy the the budget process. Thinking ahead, I'm looking forward to University Day. University Day offers the chance to reflect on the value of this institution to the state of North Carolina. I've often told folks that if this university did not exist, we'd all be figuring out how to try to create it. I cannot imagine a more influential place to be, and I'm grateful for the chance to be installed as chancellor during our annual celebration of Carolina. I want to note that University Day marks 20 years of the Carolina Covenant program. We have a great story to tell when it comes to affordability, and Carolina Covenant is a major piece of that story. The program has allowed more than 11,000 students to graduate from this great university without debt. The program's inception aimed to open the university to the best and brightest students from all financial backgrounds. I've been lucky to have the chance to speak with some of our Carolina Covenant scholars, attended their graduation event in the spring. They're outstanding and impressive students. And I'm grateful that they have had the opportunity to be, through the Carolina Covenant, to become Tar Heels. When asked about the program, former Chancellor Meeser said, "We had the audacity to think that we could do it." Well, we did. And I hope to keep seeing the program succeed for a long time to come, because that's what Carolina is about. Not just providing an accessible and high quality education, regardless of background, and not just training the next generation of leaders to solve the world's toughest problems, but having the audacity to set high goals and then achieving them. Finally, I have an exciting announcement to make around spring commencement. We'll be holding our 2025 spring commencement on Saturday, May 10th at 7 p.m. I know many of us enjoyed the evening ceremony with the fireworks this past semester. And we just confirmed yesterday our commencement speaker for 2025. This graduate is one of the greatest athletes in the history of intercollegiate athletics at Carolina. And it's not an exaggeration to say that she is one of the greatest performers in her sport at any level of all time. Her astonishing resume includes the following: 4 national championships, 3 times first team All-American, led the nation in scoring 3 times. Her one lost record at Carolina was 92 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties. She played on 4 U.S. World Cup teams, 3 U.S. Olympic teams, and she bleeds Carolina blue. As you've all guessed, our 2025 commencement speaker will be Mia Hamm, class of 94. I'm looking forward to the event and to having such a phenomenal Tar Heel join us to speak to and encourage our students. When she confirmed to me yesterday, I thanked her for accepting the invitation, and she said, "I'm going to give it all I got." Comes as no surprise to anyone who's followed her career. It's what I've tried to do since I started here in January. It's what we all do to make Carolina the best university it possibly can be. I want to reiterate my gratitude for the opportunity to serve this remarkable state and this incomparable school. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very, very much, Chancellor Roberts. And that is exciting news. Not only that graduation will be at 7 o'clock again. I thought that was the best, the best event that I've ever attended. And I think that that's a great selection for the speaker. So everyone, it'll be very exciting. I'll now recognize Trustee Patel to give the report of the Audit, Compliance, and Risk Management Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor, Board of Trustee members, this report covers items covered and discussed during the meeting of the Audit, Compliance, and Risk Management Committee yesterday, September 18th. The committee reviewed and approved the minutes from the May 15th, 2024 meeting. The committee also heard from Chief Audit Officer Dean Weber on the annual report for the Office of Internal Audits, as well as an update on UNC Policy 1300.7.1R, the UNC system's new regulations regarding internal audit reporting relationships at constituent institutions. finally, the committee heard a presentation on the university's top 5 enterprise risk from Mr. Weber, as well as a presentation from Audit Manager Kiara Hefner on the Office of Internal Audit's self-assessment under the Institute of Internal Auditors' new global internal audit standards. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And I will now recognize Trustee Bullock to give the report of the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Chair Pryor, and members of the Board of Trustees. This report covers items discussed during the Committee on Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure held yesterday. The committee reviewed and approved open session minutes of May 13th, 2024, as modified pursuant to motion from Trustee White, and the May 15th, 2024 open session meetings as amended. They were approved as part of the consent agenda. Committee also considered and approved 5 requests for advanced planning spending authority, 1 designer selection, 1 design request, and 1 request to issue self-liquidating debt. These items were approved by the board this morning as part of the consent agenda, and detailed information can be found on each request on the on-board and ultimately on our website. The committee also heard fiscal year 2024 UNC Investment Fund performance update from Jonathan King, CEO of UNC Management, who gave us a report of a 12% plus growth in that fund. So we must commend him and his team for that work, exceptional work. I'm a real fan of that organization. I think they do a fantastic job on behalf of not only UNC-Chapel Hill, but the UNC hospitals and the other constituent institutions that deploy their money to the UNC Management Company for investment. And finally, the committee heard a finance update on tuition and fees, always a fun topic from Vice Chancellor Knuffman. And clearly there'll be more to be heard on that issue as we move forward through the fall and into the new year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks from the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you very much. And I'll now recognize Trustee White to give the report of the External Relations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Pryor and Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on External Relations yesterday. The committee reviewed and approved the open and closed session minutes of May 15th. The committee also received a legislative update from Director of State Affairs, Amy McConkey, Director of Federal Affairs, Kelly Dockham, and our new Director of Local Affairs, Ivy Taylor, who has hit the ground running. And glad to have you here, Ivy. And finally, the committee received a development update from Vice Chancellor for Development, Michael Andreessen, and Vice Chancellor for Campaigns and Strategy, Jeff Hill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Trustee White. That concludes our open session items. Before I ask for a motion to go into closed session, I'd like to make a brief remark. May of 2024, a legal complaint was filed against the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, alleging violations of the North Carolina Open Meetings Act. The board disputes the lawsuit, but the lawsuit has been resolved. The board is committed to compliance with the North Carolina Open Meetings Act and will continue to meet in closed session only for the purpose enumerated in state law. I'll now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I have to read this. I move that the University Affairs Committee, the full board. Oh, is it different now? It's not ours. Okay,
Trustee
sorry.
White.
That's okay, my lady friend.
That-
Mr.
that-
Chairman,
That's okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Please proceed, Trustee White.
thank you.
Thank
you, Chair Pryor. Mr. Chairman, I move that the board convene in closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 143-318-11A1 to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential information, and also pursuant to Section 143-318-11A2, A3, A5, A6, A7, and A9, but not A4 or A8.
You've heard the motion. Do I have a second? Any discussion? Thank you very much, Trustee Patel. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now going into closed session.
I'm not. And if they're saying everything's fine, whatever issue is. Yeah, that's the other question.
Personnel matters voted on in open session will be made available online after the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor and Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on University Affairs today. In open session, the committee reviewed and approved the open and closed session minutes of May 15th, 2024. The committee also considered and approved a request for discontinuation of the Partnership and Aging Center, as well as revised faculty salary ranges for the Gilling School of Global Public Health, Biostatistics Department, and Keenan Flagler Business School. These items were approved by the board as part of its consent agenda this morning. And certain items were heard in closed session just now. The committee heard an update from Beth Morocco, Chair of the Faculty, and Katie Musgrave, Chair of the Employee Forum. Finally, we heard a presentation on the entering fall 2024 class profile from Rachel Feldman, Vice Provost for Enrollment. In the full board's closed session today, we discussed requested personnel action items, including 4 promotions conferring tenure and 11 new appointments conferring tenure. The conferrals of tenure, promotions, and appointments require our vote now. On behalf of the committee, I move that the Board of Trustees vote to approve the requested final personnel action items, including 4 promotions conferring tenure and 11 new appointments conferring tenure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Lloyd. Thank you for joining us today, Chairman Ramsey. Oh, I'm sorry. Second the motion. All right. So the motion was made by Trustee Lloyd. Trustee Bryan is going to second the motion. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please say aye. The motion is approved. Any no's? Motion is approved. That concludes our business today, and without objection, we'll adjourn. Thank you all. Yeah.